In this video, we are going to be talking about water, its different properties, and how it is so crucial for life on this planet. One of the most important molecules on this planet is water. Without it, life would cease to exist. 60 to 70% of our body is made out of water. Our cells are mostly made out of water as well. Water is a polar molecule, so water is made out of two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom, and there are covalent bonds between the oxygen and hydrogen. So I'm going to call them CB, covalent bonds, which means that oxygen and hydrogen share a pair of electrons between them. It so happens that oxygen is more electronegative, I'm going to say En, is more electronegative than hydrogen. Electronegativity means that that particular atom likes to pull the shared electron pair closer to itself. So in this particular case, this shared pair of electrons is going to be closer to oxygen than it is towards hydrogen. So it's going to be somewhere around there. Electrons are negatively charged. So when oxygen pulls the electron pair closer to itself, it ends up getting a slight negative charge, and the hydrogens, both of them each, will end up with a slight positive charge. This makes water a polar molecule. A polar molecule has a difference in charge. One side will be negative and the other side will be positive. Because water is a polar molecule, it forms hydrogen bonds with other water molecules. So here we're looking at one water molecule, there you go, hydrogen included, second water molecule, and third water molecule. Now all these water molecules are attracted to each other through hydrogen bonds. So one water molecule will form a hydrogen bond with the other water molecule, and a hydrogen bond simply means that this positively charged hydrogen is attracted to this negatively charged oxygen. Same goes over there. And although on this diagram we're looking at three water molecules forming hydrogen bonds with each other, millions of water molecules, billions, trillions, will form bonds with each other, and so you end up with a glass of water. A glass of water is simply many water molecules that are hydrogen bonded to each other. Because the hydrogen is positively charged, oxygen is negatively charged, and they're attracted to each other, forming hydrogen bonds. Water is an excellent solvent. So we just said that water is a polar molecule. In chemistry and biology, we like the saying, like dissolves like. So a polar substance will dissolve in a polar substance. An ionic, or in the case of water, water not only dissolves polar substances, but ionic molecules as well. So if something is polar, it'll dissolve in water. If it's ionic, it'll dissolve in water. And we say that substances that are dissolving in water, like the polar and ionic molecules, are hydrophilic. Hydro refers to water, and philia means to love. So sugar is hydrophilic, salt is hydrophilic because they will both dissolve in water. Conversely, non-polar molecules like oils, fats, waxes, they will not dissolve in water, and they're hydrophobic. Again, hydro meaning water and phobia means fear. So they have a fear of water. And even in regular life, we can see that a layer of oil will float on top of water. It will not dissolve. On the left side, we're looking at an image of salt dissolving in water. So salt is polar and ionic, and table salt is basically sodium chloride. So you have an atom of sodium and an atom of chlorine making up salt. When you sprinkle salt in water, this ionic molecule breaks up, it dissociates, it breaks up into the individual sodium and the individual chloride ions. When it goes in water, the sodium will be attracted to the negatively charged oxygen atoms in water, and the chloride, which is now negatively charged, will be attracted to the positively charged hydrogen atoms in water. And so looking here, it forms these spheres, and we call them sphere of hydration. And this is how salt dissolves in water. Next, we're going to talk about cohesion and adhesion. So cohesion means when water molecules are attracted to each other. And so this leads to a very interesting property that water has, which is called surface tension. Surface tension means that at the surface of water, the water molecules are so attracted to each other that if a lightweight bug like this or a needle is dropped on top of water, it can actually stand. I mean, quote unquote, stand. It's not like standing, but the point is, it's not falling through, it's not sinking. So, even this needle here floats on water due to surface tension. Those water molecules are attracted to each other such that they don't allow small lightweight objects to break that cohesion and fall through. Adhesion is something somewhat similar. This is when water molecules are attracted to or stick to other molecules. Plants will absorb water through capillary action. So when we water plants, right, the water goes towards the root. It ends up in the roots, but over time it will rise up or it'll climb up and go to the leaves as well. Plants have straws. These straws, I mean, they're not literally straws, these are tissue, which are called xylem, and they're responsible for transporting water, much like a straw. So if water is at the bottom right here, that water will start getting attracted to the ends of the xylem, like so, and slowly, it will continue to rise until the water reaches the leaves. If we are in the lab and we are using a test tube, and when we put water in a test tube, we will notice that towards the edges, water will be slightly raised up. This is called the meniscus, and this also occurs because of adhesion. Those water molecules are attracted to the side of the test tubes, and so they kind of climb up on the sides. Water has a high heat capacity. Heat capacity means how much heat a substance can absorb before its own temperature rises up. Water has a really high heat capacity, which means that water can absorb a whole lot of heat before the water temperature starts to rise up. To drive this point home, think of yourself as taking a stroll on the beach. First, you walk on the sand, and then you make your way into the water. Now tell me, which one is hot, which one is cool? The sand will be warm and the water will be cool. Both the sand and the water are receiving the same amount of heat and the same sun. However, the heat capacity of water is high, which means it'll continue to absorb all that heat, but its temperature will not rise. Whereas the sand did not have that high of a heat capacity, its temperature rose. And this is very important for marine life because every summer, when the temperatures rise, if the water temperature started to rise as well, it would kill off all the animals in the seas and the oceans. But it doesn't happen because water can take in heat without raising the temperature. The last point we're going to cover is that solid water, which is ice, is less dense than liquid water and it floats on top of liquid water. So you're seeing these chunks of ice floating on top of water, and that is because they are less dense. Molecularly, why is that happening? This here is ice. So when liquid water turns into ice, it forms a lattice-like structure and it is airy. I'm gonna call it airy in quotes because it has a lot of this space in the middle, and so it makes it light. It makes it less dense as compared to liquid water. When you have liquid water, the water molecules are much more closer to each other. In ice, they're further apart, having a lattice-like structure, which is less dense, and so the ice will float on top of water. This is also important for marine life because when ice floats on top of water, it insulates the rest of the water. And so as the temperatures drop, the ice insulates it, and so the rest of the water does not turn into a big giant chunk of ice. And so the marine life, all the living creatures in the water are able to survive through harsh winters.